Oh, that's the sound everybody wants to start with. You rocking a Wolverine shirt over there?
Yeah, weaponprime.com, baby. This is a brand new edition. It's a Sam Keith Wolverine.
Did Sam Keith work on a Wolverine?
Oh, dude, he did so many Marvel Comics Presents and then Wolverine stories. Like as a result, like not just covers, but like 3 to 6 page inserts. They're dope.
That's amazing. I can't believe I haven't stumbled across, because when I'm thinking Sam Keith, I'm thinking like
Max.
I'm thinking Batman with the long, insanely long ears, right?
Yeah. His Batman is infamous, but his Wolverine, like when he never walks away without like rags of his costume. He's got like these crazy like spindle, stringlets. It's amazing. I saw this shirt. I was like, I gotta have it.
Remember when we just let mainstream superhero comics, we just let artists go wild? Like,
yeah,
fuck it.
Oh, I know. I was just looking at like a Bill Sienkiewicz issue recently, and I was like, man, like.
Correct me if I'm wrong. This is one of those where I step forward and I'm like, wait, am I right? That was obviously Moon Knight, right? But also New Mutants.
Yes.
That's a mainstream X book.
That was a huge X book.
And go wild. We're just like, sure.
Well, they were like, yeah, well, we should get Bill Sienkiewicz. He's a hot name. And it's like, he's a hot name for doing this crazy stuff.
Oh man, I miss it because we're in an era right now where like there's just strong, and there's a lot of great artists. We're going to talk about it right after this. We're going to record patreon.com/onlystupid-answers. We're going to record an episode of OSA, my podcast network, Only Stupid Answers, and we're going to talk about the new Batman Deadpool crossovers.
Yes,
and it's like I will read both. One of them I'm a lot more excited. The creative team,
I think we all know which one.
And I
don't blame you.
Yeah, and I started thinking, it's like, yeah, I think, is this true? This is another conversation over there. It's like, does DC have on lock? The artists they have on lock, I think, might be better than some of the artists Marvel has on lock.
I mean, I don't want to talk too at length about this off this other show, but like, they got 2 DC artists to do the Marvel and DC one. Not to say like Greg Capullo doesn't technically work for Marvel right now, but like, come on.
That's right. I didn't even think about it because he's coming off of Wolverine Revenge and everything. But you're right.
That's the one everyone thinks of him for. Like
mainstream Batman, as far as his mainstream work, like, okay. Well, anyway, that's going to be, if you guys want to hear that conversation, stay tuned to youtube.com/onlystupid-answers or go to patreon.com/onlystupid-answers, because this show, gosh dang it, is Krypton Academy. This is the show where we talk about Superman. And we've been going through all of the live action Superman movies, including Steel. And now we're in the Snyder era. Although, Sal, doing this, the movie we're going to cover today, which is Batman v Superman, I was like, damn it, we should have done the world's finest animated Batman crossover. Why didn't we do that?
Oh man,
we'll do it. It's just one of those like, why didn't?
It's not really a movie. It's just a 2-part episode of the show.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Maybe that'll be a little treat for us after the Snyder movies. We'll be like, hey, what if a good one?
It opens up a can of worms in the form of like, do we have to watch Superman, Batman, Public Enemies, Superman, Superman, Batman, Darkseid?
Yeah, I will say, so there's going to be a poll on the Patreon. For those that don't know, Sal and I started this whole venture with SnyderVersity, where we've been talking about the Spider-Man movies and then went into the Spider-Man animated shows. We went back to SnyderVersity for your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and we did Venom: The Last Dance, and we're going to do Kraven. After that, it's a little up in the air. Do we keep doing SnyderVersities? I did find, Sal, that you can find the entirety of the live action 77 Spider-Man show on YouTube.
Great.
So that's an option. Guys.
We could easily watch one episode of that.
So do we keep doing SnyderVersity? Do we go back to Mutant Academy, continue X-Men the animated series, or does Krypton Academy live on watching the animated show? So that's going to be a poll at patreon.com/onlystupid-answers. I haven't decided when I'm going to put that poll up, but now that I've mentioned it here, I can do it whenever I want.
That's true.
So that is a question. I do have some thoughts on what Sal and I could do in the Krypton Academy slot on this channel that I'm excited about, but that's a different conversation for a different day. I do want to say, if you guys want us to read your comment on air, you can hop on over the super chat. We already had somebody in the super chat. I am Kel, just hopping in there and appreciate it. But yeah, if you want us to read you guys were super active on the Man of Steel super chat. So, you know, if you want to keep that momentum going, I'm not going to stop you.
Yeah, if you want to get really uptight and mad about our interpretation of Zack Snyder's interpretation, then please continue.
If you want to interpret our interpretation of the I will say we ran a little long with Man of Steel. I'm going to try and keep it tighter this time. If you want to know some of our more general thoughts on the SnyderVerse, Snyder's take on stuff, you can hop over to our Man of Steel conversation. I'm not going to rehash all of that here. No. The couple things I do want to, while we're doing the business up top, if you missed the Kickstarter for my new comic, Danger Boy and the Antagonist, you can still go to the pre-order store. If you go to dangerboycomic.com, click the pre-order store link, that'll send you right over there. The other thing that I've been trying to do, and I've been doing it on my podcast network. I want to do it over here. I want to try and be more proactive and motivate people to help work with their communities more, trying to help people. So I'm trying to, each month I'm picking a charity to kind of direct people to. This month's charity is Children in Conflict. This is an incredible organization. The funds they raise help to transform the lives of children living through crisis, conflict, and war across the world by providing emergency protection, education, mental health support, and community advocacy. They operate globally, including in the Ukraine, Syria, and Palestine. I know for me specifically, seeing a lot of images coming out of Gaza and Palestine, where I have a little one, are devastating and heartbreaking. And aid in that area is a little bit tricky, but just generally, children in conflict, I think, is something near and dear to my heart currently. We are in Pride Month. I maybe should have chose something Pride Month adjacent, but that'll be next month. So if you feel so inclined, head over to Children in Conflict and go support that. Also, I've been trying to motivate people. I think giving to charity is great, especially when it comes to global stuff like that, where stuff that it's harder for individuals like you and me to go participate in. However, I do think it's also really important to do stuff in your community. So if I want to motivate people, you know, in the comments, let us know stuff that you're doing in your community to help your community, help give some people some ideas, and help inspire some other people. I think that would be really good too. Okay, think that's it as far as the business time. The only other thing I want to say before we dive into Batman v Superman is I wanted to bring up my copy of the Ultimate Edition, which is what I watched. Sal watched the normal edition, correct, Sal?
That's correct.
Yeah. I watched the Ultimate Edition because I own it, and I just wanted, as evidence for people that are like, "Oh, you guys are just haters." I really tried, gang. I own this. I own Man of Steel, and I own Justice League. I own them. I was really rooting for them.
Yeah, we were all excited. I mean, Batman v Superman, all this stuff came out about it. Ben Affleck, I think, was inspired casting, though maybe a little too old if you were going to start a new universe.
Yeah.
But still, just an exciting time. I was doing this job when this movie came out, long before this movie came out, and so there was a lot of opportunity for people to be hyped, and the hype machine was just so different. And I think what's frustrating for a lot of people now is like it's so different from what it is today, but people remember what it was before then. So people expect things to be as hype as they were when this movie came out. Like, I remember saying on record, I'm like, this movie's going to make $1 billion. Because I mean, like, if an Avengers movie can make $1 billion with a cast of nobodies, and when I say nobodies, I mean like the characters themselves, because people forget that before the movies and before Iron Man kind of like shunted Iron Man from C tier to A tier as a superhero, it was a bunch of unsellables.
Yeah.
And now
there's a reason Marvel Studios still had those rights, and they hadn't sold them off to Sony and Universal or whatever.
Exactly. But when they said, "Oh, we're going to put Batman and Superman in a movie together," I was like, "Well, Superman makes $700 million. Batman, you know, Dark Knight at least made $1 billion.
Yep.
And if it didn't, it was close." But
I think it did. I think that's kind of what started the
arms race.
Exactly. Who can get the $1 billion next?
Yeah, and I was wrong.
Yeah.
And not that I'm like glad or disappointed, but I was wrong.
Yeah, and it's interesting. So like I think we actually, one of the reasons I own that Blu-ray is we covered one of the first episodes of Only Stupid Answers. We covered the Ultimate Edition, and I will say I do think it is better in that it is more coherent.
Right.
I will say, watching it now in 2025, god damn, is that a slog? It's just so long. And while I do appreciate the way it fleshes things out, it's just crazy how fundamentally this movie misunderstands the characters on the basic level. And I know we got some comments in the last one are like, it'd be nice if you had people on the show that had the other opinion. I'm sorry, gang, this isn't a debate show. That's not what it is.
That's not how anything works. Like, I'm sorry that you're so brain rotted that you think that, like, if someone shares an opinion, there must be an antagonist that exists who will disagree. Like, there must be a representation of all opinions everywhere.
It's listen, there is in the comments with you all. If you
you exist.
I'm not saying you should feel the way I feel, but I am going to tell you all the way I feel.
Right.
And part of the way I feel is, especially now, because here's the thing. I was thinking about it. So I was like, okay, why was I so? Because you can probably find. I think there's a chance. I don't remember what I said back in the day, but there's probably a chance that of me doing something back on SourceFed or whatever, where I was kind of defending, because the backlash to this was strong and I think deserved. And I think it was because I really wanted to believe the promise we were told that I think was a lie, which is, this is an arc, man. All right. I know they're not the way you want the characters to be, but by the whatever, and it's 3 movies deep, 2 director's cuts deep. It's like, no, it's not. You don't understand these characters. You just don't. You don't understand what makes these characters work.
And it's so funny also to think about the world that this movie was in, because I think that the further removed from the time it was made, it gets, the more the bros come out who are like, this was actually part of like a brilliant plan, and it was all this sprawling thing, and it's so like just this thing, because it is kind of an interesting anthropological experiment. Like, it's funny to watch this movie in a vacuum, or at least, you know, a decade removed practically, and go, what the hell? Like, do you remember when they made this and they thought this was going to be like the MCU? And when I say the MCU, I don't mean like in terms of tone, I mean in terms of success. And it's just interesting because there's influences in here that just don't exist today. And when I say that, I mean like the inspiration for Lex Luthor, or the reaction to the visceral, you know, just the reaction of the filmmakers to the reaction of the last movie. Because while
it's baffling, we're going to get into that, because they do try to respond to it in a way that now doesn't make sense. Like, it's like, this was your response to that,
right? It just was to not double down, but like to have this really weird conflicting message. And it was just, you know, I think Superman's overall demeanor in this whole movie is more or less Zack Snyder kind of like getting his frustrations out, where he's just kind of like, I came here to save you.
Don't you see how great I am?
You're welcome.
Exactly.
Like, why are you mad at me?
So before we get into it, I think this will be better up top. So this is, I looked into a little bit of how this movie came to be. Going all the way back to August 2001, Andrew Kevin Walker was hired after pitching the studio an idea titled Batman vs. Superman, attaching Wolfgang Peterson to direct. That movie ended up not getting made because Wolfgang Peterson did Troy instead.
6 and 1, not a great movie, but so it's like it could have worked out either way for him.
They originally wanted Johnny Depp as Batman and Josh Hartnett as Superman. What killed the idea of apparently of doing this was Superman Returns. Jeff Robinov admitted, had Superman worked in 2006, we would have had a movie for Christmas of this year or 2009. Now the plan is just to reintroduce Superman without regard to a Batman and Superman of it all. Then, of course, in 2013, around Man of Steel's release, they announced that Zack Snyder and David Goyer would return for a sequel. Why? They just kept tripling down on it.
I know. They're like, these are the people. No, you like the audience being like, yeah, we're not showing up. They're like, you don't get it. This is it. Okay.
This is, and I think I said this is a Man of Steel too. I'll revisit it here. Before this was a thing, I was like, I actually think, and I think probably around Avengers time, I was like, what you do, which I think you could do is because Batman and Superman are so iconic. I think you could do a Superman, you could do a Batman and Superman, and then you could do a Justice League. You could
100%. I still believe that.
I still believe, just not this way. And at the time, I always kept getting pushback of like, no, you need to do what Marvel does. You need to do all the characters individually. I'm like, I actually don't think you need to. I think it worked for them. I don't think you need to. The benefit of that formula is they got to have a few different filmmakers give their kind of flavor of it. And that allows you to be like, okay, this is what this kind of style and tone is what we're doing, as opposed to like, we're going all in on this one guy with a very specific and divisive vision. It's like maybe that one's not the call.
Yeah, I which is funny because it's like I would never advocate for I don't know. It's a really weird, complicated animal. It's a fun skeleton to reconstruct.
Yeah.
But leading there, you could see like there was never any like commonality. Like no one was on the same page at any point, except when they finally were like, well, this guy doesn't seem to want to do anything else. Like Wolfgang Petersen's like, I got other things to do. Like anybody who was attached to these, Bryan Singer, everybody who was making a Warner Brothers superhero picture was like, I got other things to do. Yeah. And Warner Brothers themselves, and I've tripled down on this opinion over the decades, but I think that Warner Brothers has a very apologetic opinion about movies and superheroes. Yeah, where they're like, oh my god, I'd rather be making Harry Potter movies, but I'm sorry, we have to make a Batman movie again. Yeah, and like here it is, I guess. Like the villain will be interesting, and it's like you just look no further than The Batman and how it's like it takes 25 years to make a sequel to The Batman, but it takes only like 6 months to make a movie or show about a villain from Batman. Yeah, these guys just love their villains, and I don't know what it is, but like I'll tell a quick story and then we'll get out of here. But like I remember going to a practically a timeshare demonstration at DC's studios or whatever. It wasn't DC's office. It was Warner Brothers had like an office when they bought some like company. Yeah, I think it was whatever it was. I don't know.
Whatever. Yeah, one of the mergers. Whatever.
Yeah, they had one of these studios from the internet, and they were rolling out with a streaming service, DC Universe, and they wanted all these internet personalities to like hype it up. And to like double down on how awesome DC was, they just rolled out like these dusty old superhero costumes, like from their movie catalog. Yeah, like they did. There was one comic book creator. Yep, Burt Ward was in attendance. They had costumes from Superman 2. Yeah. And it was like, this is it.
Yeah, they're like, here's a Superman costume, and a Superman costume, and a Batman costume. Yeah, and a Batman costume.
Right, and like all these Batman Batmobiles. That was fun, but also it was like, dude, make something new.
Yeah. So there was Christopher Nolan was involved as an advisory role as an executive producer. No, he wasn't. He took a paycheck. I guarantee he wasn't. Snyder and Nolan considered having Man of Steel share continuity with Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy. I'm sure Snyder did, but decided against it. Given the Dark Knight Rises ended with John Blake, Joseph Gordon-Levitt taking over as Batman for Bruce Wayne, Snyder agreed that a connection between the two franchises would have complicated things.
Yeah. Also, Christian Bale was like, no effing way.
And he shouldn't. This would have ruined those movies. The idea, like you'd have to disconnect them. It's the same actor, different continuity, because this would ruin Christian Bale's
absolutely.
According to Snyder, this is going to shock you, Sal. I don't know if you noticed this watching it. I want to know what you think about this. According to Snyder, the film would take inspiration from the comic The Dark Knight Returns. Did you notice
what? That is insane. That is so interesting. I did not get that from him.
Can you imagine going into your first ever Batman Superman crossover and being like, this is going to homage The Dark Knight Returns and the death of Superman? Can you fucking imagine?
To start our universe.
Yeah. God damn it. Further commenting on influences, Terrio, who was one of the writers with Goyer, revealed that the film would draw inspiration from Nolan's Batman trilogy. Italian semiotician Umberto Eco's 1972 essay, The Myth of Superman, and the W.H. Auden poem, Mose debut arts, which contrasts the quotidian details of normal people's lives with the epic struggles of mythological figures.
See what I mean? Like, where it's like, just make the superhero comic, like, just make the comic book. And they're like, no, we have to justify doing it. There has to be some kind of heady or deep or enduring or justifiable artistic reason that we do this. It's not just because we need money. And it's not just because we own the IP.
Yeah, I think, and again, I think it's one of those, like, learning the wrong lessons from The Dark Knight, where people are like, and I think this is especially true if you rewatch the Dark Knight trilogy now, because at the time it's like, it's dark, it's serious. Yeah, compared to Batman and Robin, but you're like, it's a Bond movie.
Yeah.
Nolan, for all his, auteur tendencies, he knew it's like, it needs to be fun. It's a fun, I mean, come on, guys. Like, what are we doing over here?
It's kind of a crappy Bond movie, but it is a Bond movie. Like, it would not be a good one. Bond there's nothing sexy or joyful about those movies.
No, but he understands that for one thing, those movies go at a clip. Like Nolan, part of what makes Nolan such a successful blockbuster filmmaker is his movies move. They do constantly trucking, and there's a sense of kinetic energy. And I will say this too. Especially when you get into Inception and everything, there was a time where I think Nolan films were lauded as being, they're smart for blockbusters, but they are for blockbusters. They are genuinely smart. Yeah. As opposed to like, this movie's so fucking heavy handed with stuff that's really not that deep or interesting. But we spend so much, God damn it, Sal, you watch the normal version. I watched the Ultimate Edition. It takes a good hour and a half at least before we get the Batmobile sequence where Superman and Batman finally share screen together. And it's like, what the fuck are we doing? What are we doing?
I know. They're just like, they are so excited by their own ability to what? Like, I don't understand.
We just need to see these guys pout around for an hour.
Yeah.
Like, who can frown the most? Who's saddest? Okay, all right. The official film's title, apparently Joker and Riddler were supposed to appear in the film, but Snyder ultimately decided to cut them from the final script. I mean, yeah, of course, because that would cut into the pouting. You'd actually have Batman and Superman doing things as opposed to being, I'm kind of sad about being Batman and Superman. The film's official title, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, was revealed May 2014. Snyder explained that having the V in the title instead of verses was a way to, quote, keep it from being a straight versus movie, even in the most subtle way. In April 2021, Terrio revealed that his script was never titled Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, while Snyder indicated that the name of the film was decided by the studio executives and that he fought for the abbreviation of the word versus in the title. Potential titles that the pair initially wanted included Justice League Foundations, Justice League Rising, Son of Sun, and Night of Night.
So yeah, we had the best title.
Yeah, it's a shame that there's not like a comic you could pull from like World's Finest. They call in their defense, that doesn't quite fit the tone they were going.
No, I don't know. Dawn of Justice is just like, it's like Captain America: The First Avenger. Horrible title that is only there to appeal to Chinese markets, but also so that it doesn't have to, so that it can imply bigger, more exciting things.
Don't worry. This is part of more things are coming. All right. Yeah. Okay. So that's a little bit of the behind the scenes of how we got to this movie. And of course, we're gonna dive into the movie itself. And you can't do it, Sal. You can't have a Batman movie without revisiting the death of the Waynes. The most impressive one is Joker, which is not, Batman's not even in it, but we still have the death of the Waynes.
Still got to put it in there.
Oh my God, they should just make a movie. For as much as they love the villains, they should just be like Death of the Waynes, the movie. It's a 2.5 hours leading to their death.
Yeah, I mean, that is Joker at that point.
Yeah, that's actually, you're right. That's true. Right? This version of the Waynes is played by Negan and Maggie from The Walking Dead. And this is the opening monologue Bruce Wayne gives over this footage of their just to show, I gave you some of the references Terrio mentioned. Here's what that resulted in. Mm-hmm. There was a time above, a time before. There were perfect things, diamond absolutes, but things fall, things on earth. And what falls is fallen. In the dream, it took me to the light, a beautiful lie. That's our opening lines to our Batman.
What does that even mean?
What is going
And you know what's so frustrating is like, you know, Zack Snyder knows how to adapt an already established piece of graphic literature.
Yes.
300, Watchmen, for better or worse.
Yeah.
And he can punctuate lines that are written by somebody else in a really profound, or at the very least, handed manner.
Yeah.
This is just what happens when you go, no, Goyer, have disdain for the source material. Just speak from the heart. Use the Blade Trinity in your heart and do this.
It's interesting. We'll get into it more, but watching this now is so clear that like this bizarro instinct of like, what if Batman and Superman were the worst versions of this?
What if they were a version you've never seen?
Yeah,
in any incarnation,
and they were both unlikable, and the things you like about them were nowhere to be found. And it's one of those like, what I do understand the instinct of saying, listen, Marvel's making a lot of money. Actually, maybe I don't understand this instinct. Marvel's making a lot of money making fun, exciting movies that are very quotable. Let's not do. I don't want
let's
that.
Let's not do that. I think there's this like
you're trying to find a niche, right? You're trying to say like they've cornered this part of the market. What if we did The Dark Knight? What if we made something grittier or more serious? I do understand that.
Yeah,
but I think specifically with superheroes, your protagonists need to be likable. That seems basic.
Yeah. I mean, Leonidas is more likable than either of these guys.
Yeah. Okay, so this sequence ends with the death of the Waynes and Thomas saying, "Martha, put a pin in that. It matters."
It does. I was surprised. Doesn't blood shoot out of her like?
Yeah. She's
her
super
coffin.
Yeah. She's. Oh yeah. Well, because we have to, for some reason, the one thing Zack Snyder was like, you remember that giant bat monster they cut from Batman Forever? Let's do that here.
Like, okay.
So now we flash forward to the end of Man of Steel, this time from Bruce's perspective. And I had a couple questions. Why I think this is a very exciting sequence, but watching it now, it's baffling for a few reasons. Here's one of the minor ones. Why is he Bruce Wayne and not Batman as he's running into the destruction of the city?
Right. Well, because we want to show, I don't know. We want to save Batman for later. It's night. It's daytime.
It is daytime. I will say the little car that he drives through the city has little emergency lights on it. Don't know how I mean, he's a billionaire. I guess he can get what he wants, but I thought that was a little surprising.
A little weird.
At one point,
I didn't notice that. That's interesting.
Yeah, I just noticed it this time.
Yeah, that's funny. I did notice. Well, I've seen this before, but like if you line up the footage of this movie and the destruction of Metropolis with Man of Steel, it kind of lines up.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me that Zack Snyder would care about that and not other things that he might think.
Yeah, but like, what a weird decision. Just right off the bat, no pun intended, to go, okay, so we did evoke a lot of like strong 9/11 images inadvertently by making a big Super Saiyan fight in the previous movie, and it came across as insensitive, though no one was nearly upset about that as they were with a neck snapping of a mass serial killer.
Yeah.
So let's double down on that and like show you boots on the ground versions of a like 9/11 on the scale of like a Hiroshima. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like,
what?
You're just going to show that spaceship cutting through buildings.
Those heat vision like blasting through walls and like his friend evaporating into dust on the phone.
and then beyond that, so at one point Wayne ditches his car. He runs into the aftermath of one of these collapsed buildings after what Sal's talking about with the heat vision. He breathes in all those carcinogens. I hope he has a good bat healthcare plan because he's got all the bat cancer. Yeah. And he eventually saves a little girl and he asks like, "Where's your mom?" And she points up to the heat vision thing. And what's so insane about all of this is they took the response to Man of Steel, and for some reason they thought the thing we don't need to justify. They do not feel at any level the need to justify Superman as a hero.
No.
After that, they feel the need to justify, well, what is Batman's motivation? I don't think that's the hard part.
No. This is it. That's all it takes. And yet also Lex Luthor arranges a massive Riddler-esque newspaper letter writing campaign to trick him into hating Superman. I'm like, It just takes that one experience,
one sequence, and I kept like, you don't have a sequence where Superman saving people after this to just kind of like, hey, actually he did do hero stuff. I know he didn't save people when he was doing the fight, which would have been nice, but we can like go back and like after here he is saving people. No,
DJ, they do show a whole montage of him saving people and parting clouds. And
hold on, I'm gonna push back on your sarcastic take on that. Not on the I agree with the sarcasm. A lot of that is him saving objects. Here's him hauling the ship. Are people on the ship? Do I care about this ship? By the way, the ship's capsized. Yeah. Is there anybody still alive on that ship? Him saving a rocket, like very little of him actually, like there's like one scene of him holding a person.
Yeah, no, they're Herculean effort. Like he looks like a god. He's supposed to be doing like, I want to show him like being a strong man, lifting something heavy or pulling something. I've seen, this has never been quiet. Like him pulling that effing chain, to the point where the Thing does it in a teaser for Fantastic Four. People like, stolen, ripped out of the movie Batman vs Superman.
Yeah.
Okay, like, oh, that look on his face when the people are trying to touch him. I'm like, he has that face the whole movie where he's like, oh.
They also give him this weird slicked back Bela Lugosi widow's peak thing that I'm like,
don't do the curl. That would be silly.
Okay, so we've got a few people in the super chat that I want to touch on real quick before we continue. John Libra jumping in late. Is there a possibility of more DJ and Sal chatting current comics like Comic Pop returns Monday show? I would love to hear what DJ thinks of the current Soups run. Well, I think Sal and I have been talking off camera. We might be doing something soon, maybe. For that. Also, you should check out the episode Sal does on OSA because we talk about comic stuff over there. Bear Farmer. That sounds like a challenging job. Bear Farmer says nothing about this movie feels natural, but if you had to make a movie with Bruce, Clark, and Diana, and you only get one movie to set up one of those characters, who's your villain? I'm going Dr. Ivo. I think Lex is a good one. Most Superman villains are big enough scale that they also are de facto Justice League villains.
Yeah, I don't mind a single villain where it's Lex, but I would also take somebody like Metallo or Brainiac. I mean, Brainiac's another obvious one, but like, or I would take a villain team up. You know, maybe Lex Luthor works with Cersei in some way. That'd be kind of fun.
As Sal mentioned at the top of the episode, the animated series did a 2-part crossover, maybe 3-part, because I do think it's a little bit longer.
It is a little longer than a standard 2-part episode.
Yeah. But the point is that that's an animated movie, so at most that's clocking in at maybe 80 minutes. Maybe.
Yeah.
And they fit Batman, Superman, Lex Luthor, Joker, and Harley Quinn and Mercy Graves all in one movie. So
yeah,
that was always my big thing when people were like, DJ, with the Justice League movie, how do you expect it to do the Justice League without being 4 hours? I'm like, I don't know. The Justice League pilot did in like 40 minutes. So
the cartoon was 22 minutes long.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know, man, but I've seen it done before. So whatever. Okay.
Yeah. I've watched 3 or 4 seasons of that show.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, it's bleak. The opening is so bleak, and you're right,
it's super
Sal,
bleak.
especially if you're like me and you're like, you could save a lot on this runtime. That's it. That's all the motivation you need. The movie should have spent way more time, because we get so many people talking about, like, some people see Superman as a hero. Some people, why?
Right.
What did he do that makes them think, that makes people love him so much? We see a statue of him. They call it, what is it? Heroes Square, whatever. No fucking way would we build a statue to Superman after what happens in Man of Steel. Are you fucking kidding me?
No, it's unbelievable how there is even a debate.
Yeah. Like, because this movie is responding to Superman as he is in our culture. That's not the Superman we meet in this universe.
That's the real problem, is this whole movie is at odds with itself, because it's giving you the movie that they made.
Yeah.
But within the text of the movie, they're also addressing, and you know what it is? The entire Zack Snyder DC approach is young Clark in the teaser for Man of Steel.
Yeah.
There's the sequence. It's just a shot. I remember falling for it and then thinking about it for half a second. There's a sequence in the Man of Steel teaser where young Clark Kent takes a red towel.
Yeah.
And he wraps it around his neck and he puts his hand on his shoulders. Who is he making a reference to?
Yep. In that universe, who is he thinking of? You could make an argument that doesn't work, actually, because we see Krypton, that maybe it's some sort of sense memory of his Krypton heritage, but they're not wearing red capes in any of that.
And they're not standing triumphantly.
Nope.
Like he is making a reference to the character within pop culture, and that's what this movie is. This movie is like,
if you've read All-Star Superman, you'll remember that Superman made an alternate Earth where it's actually our Earth, and then maybe Superman maybe whatever.
Yeah, I mean that would presuppose that anyone making this movie read All-Star Superman.
They sure did. No,
and there's no way.
There's no fucking way.
There's no way, because they would have just stolen the whole damn thing.
Yep.
And by the way, do it. You own it.
Just do that.
They just did. I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll find out. But like, it looks like it. Yeah. No. But the whole thing is just like, we're dealing with Superman. Superman, the word that we were afraid to use in the previous one, we're saying all the time and use and throwing around like it means something and has weight.
Here's the other thing I want to mention here specifically at this moment, because it touches on as my mind works of like, how could you have made this work? Right. And what I realized here is two of my main things. We've already passed over them. This movie refuses to engage with the idea that Batman might feel inferior to Superman, and that might be part of the motivation.
I mean, that's inherent in the text. I mean, like,
but they don't engage with it, which is what's surprising, because the thing was, I was like, you could have a sequence. Like, imagine Bruce is struggling to like get Scoot McNairy, this medal off of Scoot McNairy, and then Superman comes up and just lifts it off of him. And now we've done two things. One, we've shown Superman actually doing helpful things after this event. And two, we've engaged with how Batman just saw this devastation, but now this person saving people. And the other one was an idea I had when they were during the trailers, and we saw that we're going to see the death of the Waynes again. And I was like, fucking again. And I was like, you know what would be interesting? What would make this interesting is if it was a dream, which actually it is a dream. But in the dream, we build up to the death of the Waynes. They got the guy with the gun. And then in the dream, Superman stops and saves Bruce's parents. And then because it's a dream and you're working more off of your subconscious than actual reality, then Superman turns around and heat visions young Bruce. And then Batman
that would have been amazing.
Because then, one, you subvert the classic death of the Waynes thing, but now you've completely illuminated Batman's struggle here. Because on the one hand, he sees Superman as a threat, but on the other hand, on a deeper level, part of it is, this guy could have saved my parents. This guy makes everything I do kind of irrelevant.
That's such a good point. That is it would have been such a powerful image, so much better than Bruce Wayne being lifted aloft by bats and then flying away, which
or being a commando in a dark future or whatever.
That whole dark future sucks. And it's frustrating that we keep going back to it, that there are statues of it, that people are so excited by it, that like, this is cool. Yes, you know what? I'll be honest with you. Batman in a duster, if I was 12, would have thought was dope.
Yeah.
That's all I could say to that.
Yep.
Like,
yep. So yeah, because we get some lines about it later, but it was just really interesting that we can't make Batman feel inferior.
Well, he's not. He's awesome. Yeah. And he's the character I'd rather make a movie about.
Yeah, but I would also argue you don't understand. He definitely wants to be making the Dark Knight Returns, but we'll get into that more later because it becomes more obvious.
Can I ask you this? Is this the time for it? Would Zack Snyder's Dark Knight Returns, straight up a Watchmen-esque, 300-esque Dark Knight Returns Zack Snyder movie, be awesome?
I think it would be better than this. I'm not a huge fan of Dark Knight Returns.
Oh, that's right. You and I have, we've differed on this opinion.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it. Like, I mean, to be completely honest, it is a reference point for Danger Boy. Some of the, especially the way it engages with media. So I definitely get it. You know what I mean? I'm just not the biggest Frank Miller guy.
That's fair.
I think his, I've said this before. I think Zack Snyder's Wolverine trilogy, if that had worked out, that would have been like, that's the perfect marriage of character, source material, and directly that's the one. But it would be better than this Dark Knight, and he'd be much more devoted to it. So let me ask you, if you're a Dark Knight Returns guy, how do you feel about Zack Snyder's Dark Knight Returns? I think it would have. I would have loved it.
Yeah. And it would have been, at the very least, like slavishly beholden to it.
Yes.
It would have leaned into Batman's kind of fascist tendencies in that book a lot harder. Like, it would have been like, no, he's right.
Yep.
You know, they would have probably cut that part where they have the man on the street and the guy makes like a socially inappropriate comment, in favor of Batman, and it's like,
yeah.
Oh, you're saying something,
yeah,
young Frank Miller. That's interesting. And it's like, yeah, they would have cut that, but it would have. But otherwise, I mean, like, it would have looked great. It would have been fun, and I think Zach would have had a better time.
Definitely. I will tell you this. I think Zack Snyder directing Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns is a way better fit than Zack Snyder directing Alan Moore's Watchmen.
Well, it's just, I mean, you know, what would Zack Snyder and Alan Moore talk about?
Yeah, exactly. Whereas Zack Snyder and Frank Miller, I think, would have a lot. They would
have a lot in common. I think, at least at the beginning. I think Frank would eventually be like, "Get this kid out of here." But I think it would initially they would have been like, it would have they initially they would have been like, "We should reboot RoboCop." And then Frank would be like, dude, "Oh, you think RoboCop's cool?"
Frank Miller and Zack Snyder working on a RoboCop would not be the worst thing. Would not be the worst. But
it wouldn't have been cool. Paul Verhoeven is like, I'm making a point, and Zack Snyder's like, and I'm gonna miss it.
I'm gonna miss that point. You're 100% right, but it would be pretty bitchin'. It would be pretty.
And it would have been like it would have been like if Zack Snyder had made Starship Troopers.
Yes,
where like we would have been like, wow, what a great parody, and he's like, parody.
Yeah. Dude, they're making it. They're like, we're gonna make new Starship Troopers that's closer to the book, and you're like, time out on that one.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't do that. Bob in the super chat says, you guys are a real dynamic duo. Also, have you guys considered watching the MCU movies for Secret Wars? I'd be down to follow that journey. I don't think we have enough time at this point. Bob. I also think you and I have thought about it.
Yeah,
and I think. And I don't know if I've discussed it with you, but I have thought about it. And it's like, you and I have definitely talked, not necessarily on a show together, but we've talked about those movies in our career.
Yes. One could do a supercut of the entire MCU, just taking clips of each movie and then make an MCU supercut where we just go in like release order.
Yeah. But I have thought about it. I just don't know if we have that. And that would be, it
wouldn't take long. If we did it once a week, we'd be fine. I don't want to necessarily do that. I'm just saying that like it's doable.
It's doable. Well, maybe we'll keep talking about it. So
especially if they keep delaying Doomsday.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Doomsday and Secret Wars. So we okay. I'm gonna try and there's a lot of movie here, guys. So,
I know.
So we cut to Jimmy Olsen. Don't get attached. CIA agent Jimmy Olsen. I think it is implied in the irregular cut in the Ultimate Edition. Hi, I'm Jimmy Olsen. Hi, I'm Lois Lane. Like that's a scene.
That's not a scene in the regular movie.
Yeah, in Ultimate Edition, they specifically, this is Jimmy Olsen, by the way.
Yeah, I think he has like his name on his shirt in like or his information in this version that I saw was just
my headcanon when I thought this was the continuity we're sticking with. I'm like, maybe he just faked. There's a real Jimmy Olsen out there, and he just faked the credentials. And again, I was trying to do a lot of heavy lifting for this movie to make it something I could like. I really wanted to
because for you were like, this is the DC movie continuity for the next 10 years. I have no other option.
Yeah. So I'm going to hold on to everything I can. Anyway, so and this sequence is fleshed out more. So I believe, Sal, you can correct me if I'm wrong. In the original version, basic lot is Lois is interviewing this scary warlord that Superman fucking atomizes. That guy's fucking dead.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's basically the scene, and then people make a lot of hay out of it. In the Ultimate Edition, what happens is KG Beast, Lex Luthor has a Russian henchman that I think the name is the KG Beast's actual name in the comics. So I just call him KG Beast. It'd be cool if he actually had that suit.
I will tell you, and when I first saw this, didn't get that at all. I was like, people were talking about him with KB. I'm like, KG Beast in this movie?
Yeah.
And it's like, no.
Cool. It'd be cool if he actually put on the costume. Whatever.
He would look insane, but I would love it.
Yeah. So anyway, they kill a lot of people in the village and then set them on fire so that when Superman leaves, because I guess he doesn't check on these people, people are like, oh, Superman killed the village. That's kind of one of the main.
Okay, because people are just upset. I mean, like, look, rightfully so, because I suspect that's also the plot of this new Superman movie, is that Superman like went into a third world country and like killed its leader.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think that James Gunn's Superman is going to have him like just body check the guy into like Pluto.
Multiple walls. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But he is going to go into an armed conflict in the Middle East and like stop it. And people are going to be like, is that something Superman should be doing?
Yeah.
I'm like, but this is a heavy debate. This is a real debate. You know, Superman just 9/11 Metropolis, admittedly to stop 7 other Supermen from doing anything.
Yeah.
And that's great. But he also then went over there because I think he's having sex with that reporter, and that's the only reason he did that.
Yep.
And he killed that guy.
Yeah, killed him. No lessons learned from the next snap. He fucking because I kind of wondered, like, am I supposed to understand that he didn't kill that guy? No, he definitely killed that guy.
That guy doesn't exist anymore. He and what's weird is like that was also when before this movie came out, people were like, no. Did you see him scream? He's so sad that he killed that guy. This will be the lesson he learns, because I will say in post-crisis continuity, Superman does kill a guy, a Kryptonian, and he is so upset that like he creates his no killing vow in that instance. And that's canon.
Yeah. I don't know that. I don't know that somebody needs a justification for why they don't want to kill people, but sure.
Well, Batman's only reason for not killing people is because he's like traumatized. He would justifiably kill Joker. It's like, okay, you know what? They don't look. The reality is they don't kill people because children read these comic books, and that's why. Like that was the original. That's the original reason.
We want more Joker's popular. We need him to keep showing up.
They killed Joker like twice in the original appearance. And then he came back because he's just too popular. He's just
too popular. That's the reality of the situation. And this is the problem when we get into these like fictional like top trolley problem situation. It's like, no, in the real world, a guy that dresses up in clown makeup that we know definitively that's the guy that's killed hundreds of people, that guy can go away.
That guy would be assassinated.
The reason you don't want a vigilante running around killing people is they're going to kill the wrong people. There's going to be collateral damage. They're going to get the wrong person. There's a reason that's
right.
But we can't.
What's their justification? You don't know. There's no paper trail. There's no accountability.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, okay. So he kills this guy. We also get a scene. This is going to introduce a whole subplot that I'm just going to sum up here, and we're going to move on. That I don't think is in the Ultimate Edition. Wonmi Musaku, who you've seen in Loki, she was just in Sinners. She's fantastic. Plays this woman that we find out later has been hired by LexCorp to drum up like, oh, he killed my grandma. He killed the whole village. All of that's not true. She's and then she ends up getting killed by KGBs by being pushed in front of a train.
Oh, great. Yeah, that's not in the thing. I said.
Yeah. This is very much like we were texting about it. This is very much like the Ben Affleck Daredevil, where it's like the uncut edition makes sense, so therefore it is better, but it is not suddenly a good movie.
Yeah, it's not a good movie, but it is a better movie than the one that they put out, which is fair.
And that is true of this too. It's just I wouldn't argue that it's a good movie. It's just better.
Yeah.
So we've introduced Superman by having him kill a warlord to set the tone of the whole thing. Right. And now we're going to introduce our Batman. How do we introduce our Batman? Well, I just mentioned we don't get into insecurities of Batman, but we do get into insecurities of Gotham because we have two cops watching a football game that's a complete shutout for Metropolis over Gotham. They respond to some like shots fired or whatever, and we're introduced to a bunch of sex trafficking victims that are so scared of Batman they're staying in their cage. And our first shot of Batman, and I want to specifically note that this is the only time we see Batman in action before the nightmare sequence.
Yes,
it's him scurrying across the roof like a fucking squirrel.
It's like I get the impulse, I get it. Goyer, Snyder, they're like he's like a bat. I will tell you, before Absolute Universe came out, Scott Snyder was pitching me Absolute Batman, and he had a similar concept where he's like, he's going to have these big, long hooks on his cape, and he's going to be scurrying around. People love the idea of making Batman scary by having him just scurry around, which is, you don't want to use the word scurry to describe your dark, scary Avenger.
Yeah, listen, Batman's a demon. He's not a bat. He's a demon. That's what he evokes. He's fucking what's that in Night at Bald Mountain, that Fantasia bit.
Oh
that I think is the thing. That's what Batman is. You don't need him scurrying or whatever. Or Tim Burton hanging upside down while he sleeps. Like, what are we doing? Okay. So Lois digs a bullet out of, I presume, her journal. This is a magical bullet that doesn't exist anywhere and is made of a metal that we don't.
The bullet blows my mind because I'm like, what? Like, does this go anywhere?
So in this is a huge plot point in the Ultimate Edition. This is
kind of ignored. Like,
so what makes the Ultimate Edition better is Clark Kent's in it. and has a subplot because he's chasing down that the whole motivation of Clark being mad at Batman is cut out of the original.
Yeah, he's just like, I don't like that guy. He's mean, and I'm like, you're a murderer.
Yeah, in the Ultimate Edition, because he's chasing down. He points out that like a lot of Batman's actions are in poor neighborhoods, and so
fair points, by the way.
Yeah. And they elaborate on the Bat brand. When Batman this happens, we find a guy in that sequence I was talking about. This is branded. People with the Bat brand are murdered. We find out that it's specifically Lex Luthor is paying prisoners to kill people with the Bat brand in prison.
Yes. But like, why?
Yeah, that's the thing, man. So this came out, I think, the same year as Civil War. And I remember I actually really like Civil War. I think Civil War might actually still be my favorite MCU movie. Not the best, but it's my favorite because it does all the things that franchise does well in the one movie. I know a lot of people were like, Baron Zemo, his plan's like insane. It's like, I actually don't know that it is. I think my interpretation of Baron Zemo's plan is I was just going to get the Winter Soldier footage. All the rest of it wasn't my plan. The Accords, none of that. That all just happened right into what I was doing. I
just wanted to show a tape to Iron Man. That was my whole plan.
They did the rest. This is the bad version of that, where literally everything that happens is orchestrated by Lex, and you're like, "Fucking, what is happening?"
And you know why? And it's a problem in comics. It's a problem across the board when it comes to geniuses. Is most writers aren't.
Yep.
And in order to demonstrate that the character you're dealing with, who is a genius, is by either withholding information from your audience, or like Sherlock Holmesing them, where you withhold information. And then reveal it at the end, or have the character behave completely like erratically, and then explain something that you didn't tell them earlier and justify the erratic behavior as a result. Like that's, otherwise you have to deal with smart people, like, I don't know what else to tell you. Riddler that's why there's so few Riddler stories. And it's why Lex Luthor typically it's why Lex Luthor has power armor. Because sometimes I can't come up with a brilliant scheme and I just wanted to punch Superman.
Yep. So those are all subplots there. This magic bullet leads to a scene where like Lois is talking, and at least in the Ultimate Edition, Lois is talking to Superman about the implication of the conversation is she's unclear whether Superman killed all those people, which is wild.
In the regular edition, yes. Her decision in the regular edition, it's like, I mean, I was in trouble. I totally get what you were doing.
Yeah.
Like, I want to get into the bath with you.
That's the thing. So that's what's important about that scene is this movie desperately wants you to know both Superman and Batman's dick works. This isn't a woman of tissue, Man of Steel situation. Superman and Lois fuck.
It's also really weird because of how like artistic and like sweet that scene is. Like Superman coming home and getting into the tub with Lois is like a movie. I was like, what is this movie doing? Like, what is this other movie doing in this movie? Not that like it was bad. It's actually like a oddly well executed love scene that Zack. I was like, who shot this? Yeah, like it was oddly like beautiful, and also I don't like anyone in this scene.
Yeah. So then we get our introduction to Lex Luthor.
Or Max Landis.
Max Landis, yeah. Have you met Max Landis?
Not in person.
I have.
Max, I think I knew that.
I have. I've met him. He is a character. Also, allegedly, I think I still need to say,
allegedly still also a problem.
Very bad person.
I
care about. Not a good guy.
No, but but like this is what I'm talking about when it comes to like this being cemented in time.
Yeah.
I think that Jesse Eisenberg is doing a Max Landis impression at the behest of Zack Snyder, who saw Zack Snyder make a video about how bad Man of Steel was and wanted to send him up on it.
Well, here's the thing, though. And here's
Max Landis certainly thinks it's him. Like,
what's interesting? Well, I think what's interesting is, and I don't know if you're going to agree with this. I actually think one of the few things in this movie that ended up being prescient, and I did not like it at the time, was Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor.
Yes.
And I think we should have taken the warning, because these are all people. Everybody making this movie is in proximity to rich, powerful people. And we should have listened when they said, like, no, you need to understand these people are out of their goddamn mind. These are geniuses. Lex isn't a genius. He's fucking awkward and weird
and
crazy.
And no, like if he had people skills, he wouldn't be doing this.
This isn't my Lex. And now you're like, no, I recognize this guy. This guy is the closest to a real person that we have in this movie.
He's not Lex, but he's also not the Riddler. Like I've heard people compare the two, and I'm like, no. Riddler is thin, but he's not this. Riddler is manic, but not like this. But Eisenberg's Lex Luthor is a tech billionaire. Like, you nailed it. Like, that is right. That is brilliant. And I don't think anyone did that on purpose. I think that Jesse Eisenberg was just doing a Max Landis impression with with all the trappings of Lex Luthor, and he turned out to be a character that exists in 2025.
Because the thing is, and I think I did a post to this effect that actually did pretty decent. We're going to get to the Granny's peach tea piss in a jar, and I'm like, this is stupid. And now
sucks.
No, actually, I think our tech billionaires would do something like that.
We're close to that. Big time. Like Musk is leaving the White House. I think he might leave a jar of pee behind.
If he could. He had a black eye.
I know.
Why aren't we talking about that?
They're talking a little bit about it. He blamed it on his 5-year-old, but
which is fucking wild. Apparently, he said he asked his son. The cover story. I asked my kid to punch me as hard as he could. Fucking why?
That's insane. That's insane if it's true, and also it's insane to assume that I would think that was true. But like, look, kids don't know their own strength, and I will say my son is in that stage where he loves to kick, and he's a pretty powerful little guy. Like that's a lot of muscle. Like it's bone density. Good, you're giving him good enough protein. But like like that's not beyond the realm of possibility that like an errant arm or foot flew and you get hit in the eye.
Yeah,
that's fair. But like
the billionaire that bought the election is leaving the White House with a black eye. Like that's weird.
Yeah, it's almost symbolic if it weren't so stupid.
Okay. So anyway, watching this was the most I've been open to this version of Lex ever watching. I'm like, no, I buy this. No, I'm
actually just made me angry. Like watching this made me more mad. I went from shock to bemusement to rage in the 3 times I've seen this movie.
I understand that. So okay. The subplot, he was trying to get the kryptonite in. He's trying to get like some sort of like a piece of paper. I have it in my notes. There's he needs some sort of approval to get the kryptonite in, whatever. This is where we meet Holly Hunter, who deserves better. She's great. She's
great in this movie. I feel bad for her for being in it.
Sorry.
I don't think she knows. I want to believe that she didn't even know the peach tea was going to be there.
I agree.
Are you for real?
Okay, so Bruce has this nightmare of a giant bat because we love it for some reason. Wayne Manor's burned down for some reason. So now he's living in this like lake house, and he wakes up with just some random woman in his bed. Because again, this gorgeous woman wants you to know Batman fucks. Okay,
yeah. Which like this version, sure, but even then, this version's weird. Like I don't know. How did he even convince her to go home with him?
Exactly. This is a good moment to mention. I should mention, I actually think Ben Affleck as Batman is underrated. I actually think he's quite a good casting choice.
It's a great choice, and the suit's great looking.
The suit looks good. I think he's good for what he's given, and I think this movie's not good. I think he's good in the movie. There's a specific moment, we're not there yet. It might be the best moment in the whole movie where they all meet at the party, but where he's like distracted by Wonder Woman, and he's like, "Sorry, pretty girl, bad habits," and it's so like you believe that's part of this Bruce, man. Like that's a real reaction.
That's a real thing. He was honest for a minute where he's like, I like ladies. I can't help it. I'm sorry.
What are you going to do? And you're like, I get you, man. I get you.
Got to do something during the day.
Okay. So, I'm already there. I feel like I'm skipping a lot. Doesn't matter.
No,
we'll touch on all eventually. So we're actually at the party because this Alfred more than any other Alfred, which is saying something because Michael Caine's Alfred exists. This Alfred more than any other Alfred wants Batman to have babies. He needs it to happen.
That's Dark Knight Returns. That's Dark Knight Returns Alfred. He has a line stolen from the book.
Yeah. I also need to mention that just literally the actor just left my brain. The Alfred.
Jeremy Irons.
Jeremy Irons is only 24 years older than Ben Affleck.
It's like, what are you doing? Also, like stunt casting. I think that Michael Caine has changed the Alfred like to the point where like, no, you got to get a fun, like you got to like Ray Fiennes. You got to get somebody big to be Alfred. And it's like
you need somebody that could play M in a James Bond to be Alfred.
You need Voldemort to be Alfred. Like they like just get any like. But like Alfred. Andy Serkis, like after Michael Caine, it was Jeremy Irons, it was Andy Serkis. Like it's never gonna not be a like I'm surprised if Ian McKellen were 10 years younger, it would be Ian McKellen. Like it's just like.
I also want to mention that I kind of don't love the militarization of Alfred. That each version of Alfred is somehow more hardcore. I'm like, I think that's stupid. Stop.
I really like this Alfred. I don't know why, but
Jeremy Irons.
Jeremy Irons is amazing, but I like what he's given. Because I don't like Crybaby, Don't Be Batman Alfred. But I do, but you know, and I like active role Alfred. I would like a merge of like military Alfred, like we get in this kind of, but father figure, like secret dad Alfred.
Because what we have in the Batman pulls very much from Earth 1, where the implication is he's the one that taught Bruce how to fight.
Yeah,
and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just I think my instinct was to go the other direction, man. Like make Alfred that's like fucking campy and fun and like into the whole bat thing. Maybe he's bringing home guys, like, you know what I mean? Like just go the other direction. We have in the super chat Tea Time 480, what's your favorite live action Batman? For me, it's easily Pattinson. I think he gets it. I like the Batman quite a bit. I still think the best Batman movies are the Dark Knight trilogy, give or take Rises. Actually, I think my favorite live action on-screen Batman might actually be Ben Affleck, even though his movies are the worst ones.
Yeah. I think it's Pattinson. I really liked him, and I really liked that movie. I was like, this is the one that finally gets it.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm kind of like pushing for it to be in the DCU. I'm sure it won't be, but like I was like, this is a Batman where you could finally bridge the gap between like the gritty realism of Nolan, but the high-flying superheroics of like a Guy Gardner. Like you could have that Batman fight Clayface or Man-Bat, and also fight like child traffickers. Like that's a hard gap to shrink, and they do it.
Yeah, and I think you and I are on a similar page here, but the studio will not do.
No.
My thought is, let Matt Reeves do his grounded whatever, and then have Pattinson as Batman show up in your Justice League movie, and it'll be like the comics. You'll be like, wait, are those the same continuity? Sure,
or not. Yeah, whatever. Well, Gotham's a different place. It's just a weird place, and then occasionally maybe a post-credit scene with Flash, something, whatever.
Yeah, because you're like, well, but there's a flood, and it's like, I don't know, why didn't Superman show up in No Man's Land? Who the fuck cares? Who gives a shit? Like,
I agree. Yeah. No, he should. Well, listen, in the comic books, he's only in one issue, and he's told to go away. Yeah. And yes, would it have made my heart flutter if at the end, when Batman finally like saves the day and everyone's saved, then Superman shows up and goes like, you get it, and let's do this. I would have been like, you did it. But as it stands, it still works in this world. In fact, it would be nice if Superman did recognize that was the bat. Like, oh, you're a superhero. Like I thought you were just a wacko. I like that a lot.
And we don't need to relitigate this. Sal and I both talked about this. We talked about this together. We've talked about this on air. But you've got a Batman that works. And that's tricky.
Why are you trying to do it again?
Yeah, you're gonna have two at the same time. Like, come on. Lenny Laserdisc says, boo, I can't stand this movie. I love the discussion as always. Can't wait for Gunn to get Superman right. Thank you guys. I agree with you. However, again, cautious optimism. I've been burned before.
Yeah, there's a lot in this movie, and it's a lot that I would never put in a movie, like Metamorpho or Ultraman or any of the stuff that they're doing. I'm excited for it anyway.
Yeah, and the more merch comes out, I'm like, wait, they're doing that too? Did you stop looking? Stop looking.
Yeah,
let it be what it is. Okay.
The dinner scene, the party scene. I don't know if you remember. You're a film guy. You might have noticed this. When the first teaser came out, it opens with this scene.
Yeah, because it's the best scene in the movie.
Yeah, it is. And they mix the sound wrong because. In the trailer and in this, not in the scene, they fixed it, but like in the trailer, it's still available. The bad sound is still available in the original first trailer or teaser. I'm not sure, but it's the one where it opens with the car pulling up in front of the house. But like the sound is bad. Yeah. So like there's like the music, the stock "It's a Rich People Party" song is blaring.
Yeah,
and then Clark turns to some guy and he's like, "Who's that?" And the
the valet or whatever.
The valet. He goes, "You must be new." Like he's so loud, and I'm like, why is he on a different track than the rest of these people?
That's wild.
And I'm like, what are they? I'm like, I remember being like, this doesn't bode well. Like they didn't know how to mix the trailer.
Yeah. Well, and what's funny about this sequence is that I remember when I first. It's like Lex Luthor is like, oh, Bruce Wayne needs Clark Kent, and you're like, that's
so lame.
Why would they care? And then I remember watching this time, I was like, wait, Lex Luthor knows who both of them are,
right?
So even though this doesn't, in that context, him saying that actually does kind of make sense.
Yes.
And he's like, oh, strong handshake or whatever. It's like that's right because he know. Okay, I think I would argue this is the best scene in the movie because it's one of the few times the movie comes close to giving you what you want. It's like, oh, yes, this is kind of fun. It's the characters we want to meeting.
Right? Except, yes. I also like the scene. I also hate Henry Cavill as Clark Kent, directed by Zack Snyder, because he's like, never change the voice. You are a strong, dick-giving man.
Every character, glad you phrase it that way. Every character walks into the scene dick first. Like, it's insane.
I'm Clark Kent, Daily Planet. And I'm like, I want to have Batman go like, who do you think you're fooling? Are you kidding me?
Such a funny. It's like, oh, you're Superman. Like immediately, Superman. Just in that moment,
Superman, slump your shoulders or like drop your voice. Like, what are you doing, man? Like welcome to the planet. Oh, thanks, Lois. Like you like quit flexing for a second.
That would be actually. I think if this had been the movie, I would have hated it at the time. But now it's like that actually be kind of funny.
Yeah.
If immediately Bruce Wayne starts giving him secret identity tips, like, no, man, this isn't cutting it. I've been doing this for a while. Let me give you some tips.
Yeah. You see how I'm smiling?
Yeah.
That's fake.
That's fake. But it's funny is even this scene doesn't it flirts at a better version of the movie because there's a moment where Bruce Wayne is getting directions from Alfred and Clark hears it and they don't do anything with that. And it's God,
because the tension is there like a real movie where you're like, is Superman gonna screw up Batman's plan? Like, is he gonna go down there and screw up his? No, nothing. Instead, nothing happens.
Yeah. What happens is we need to fit Wonder Woman in this, and she also steals it because like Batman just left his super secret communicator thing down there so that he could have the scene. Whatever, man.
Yeah.
So Clark confronts Bruce about what's happening in Gotham. This is where I have it in my notes that I like Ben Affleck's take on him. We have a bad history of freaks dressed like clowns. That's a good one.
That's a good line. It means two things, and it's funny that either way, and I like him giving it to him because I think. Because it's also like, do you know he's Superman?
Yeah. So Clark is about ready to investigate what Bruce is doing, but he sees a report of a fire in Mexico. So this is the Day of the Dead. This means this party's happening literally the day after Halloween,
right?
Which doesn't
jive in any way.
Yeah, it doesn't seem correct.
Not a jack-o'-lantern aside. I want to say that maybe the Daily Planet had decorations, but I don't remember.
Yeah,
because we get Martha and what's her name, Lois, in one scene.
If you try to parse out the timeline of this, I don't think any of it works. So this is where we get our montage of Superman lifting increasingly heavy objects. He finds out in the Ultimate Edition, this is where he's finding out people are being killed because of the bat brand, and the guy that was branded earlier is released into Gen Pop because Lex Luthor wants him dead.
Yes.
Lex Luthor pays bail for Scoot McNairy. In this, I don't think this scene's in the original one. He shows up in Holly Hunter's office. He's like, Superman made me half a man. I can't even piss standing up. And it's like, wow, this movie's so obsessed with piss. What's happening?
I think that's in the original version too. I remember him saying that.
We're so pee focused in this movie. We find out KGB is paying to get the people killed with the Bat brand. Perry confronts Clark about pursuing the Batman story. He says nobody cares about Clark Kent taking on the Bat, because that's funny because of the movie we're watching.
Poor Lawrence Fishburne is also wasted in this movie.
Lawrence Fishburne is so good and so many things, and he's actually a really good casting for Perry White.
It's a great choice, and he's wasted
in this movie.
It's such a shame. He's just a cameo, basically. Like he gets a with credit.
Right.
Also, this is the movie that makes everyone use water wet as the reference point for like it's an obvious thing.
Yes.
It's a thing. It's a reference that is beneath a newsman like Perry White, who has 1,000 analogies at his disposal and uses water wet. I understand that it's like easy, but it's also, people make that reference when they're talking about anything obvious today, and I know they're directly referencing this movie, and it makes me like freak out every time.
Yeah. So, now we get the nightmare sequence. I hate this sequence. I hate
it so weird, and
like you said, it's weird. Also, I can't stress this enough. So Batman's using an Uzi to mow people down, which I think theoretically, I don't know if Zack Snyder knows this. I think he did it just because it's cool.
Yeah.
But I think the intent, probably on a writer level, is that see how different this reality has made Batman. The problem is, I've only seen Batman in one other scene in this movie. It was him scurrying across a roof. I actually don't know how different. And based on scenes later, I actually don't know that it is that different from this.
It's
Batman.
not. Yeah, no, it would. You could use the understanding of Batman, and they do. Like, they lean on it. And again, like we said very early in the episode, like, the Batman doesn't kill, and so it's a powerful image to see Batman with a gun.
Yeah.
But in the context of the universe, he definitely kills people. He kills people every day. He's killed people for years, decades.
Yeah. This Batman is not. It's not. I think they tried. I don't know if you remember the discourse around this, Sal, but I think they're like. I think it was even Zack Snyder was like, "Oh, he doesn't murder. It's more like manslaughter." No, this fucking Batman murders people, man.
Yeah. No, Zack is definitely talking about it's. I mean, he's only saying that to shut people like us up.
Yeah, and I'm not falling for it anymore. All right, I tried. Oh, Barry shows up. Future Barry shows up to say Lois is the key. He realizes he was there too soon, and he said, "You were right about him. You were always right. Fear him." Cool, thank you.
What? And also, he's wrong.
Yes.
And what?
Yeah.
Like that never really does anything, even when they go back and reshoot more stuff with more Jared Leto. And it's like, I don't get it. And it's like, it was a fun scene when the movie came out, and then gets less fun every single time anyone watches it.
Well, see, Sal, if you'd let Zack Snyder finish his 5-movie vision, then maybe eventually we would have gotten what we wanted. We are. It looks like, and that's by not letting him do more of this.
Yeah.
So Bruce has been hunting a boat the whole time. The white Portuguese. And that's what's carrying the kryptonite. Alfred confronts him on this.
Yeah.
And what's wild to me is in abstract, what Holly Hunter and Alfred are saying, like, why are you pursuing this weapon against Superman? In abstract, I'm like, why? In the context of this universe, no. Yes, you should have a deterrent.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
Actually of course you should.
Yeah, it's like, if only they had not just leaned into the visual horror of 9/11, instead talked about like the ramifications.
Yeah,
where it's like, yes, we're upset. The people who did this should be punished. Why are we invading Iraq?
Yeah.
Like, and you should be upset that Superman did this, but why are you doing this other thing?
Yeah, this movie has no understanding of optics.
No.
Of like, because the optics are Superman killed Metropolis. That's the optics of the situation, and every world power would want. I don't even care. Sorry, I don't actually believe this Holly Hunter character exists. Some sort of miraculous moral person. Like, no, every world leader, because they would immediately clock Superman as a threat to their power,
100%,
and would want a weapon against them.
He killed a warlord yesterday.
So there's a reason, typically, that the incoming administration doesn't prosecute the outgoing administration for their crimes, because they also want to commit crimes and they don't want to be prosecuted for that shit. Anyway. So Batman says if there's a 1% chance he's our enemy, we have to take it as an absolute certainty. That's some game theory bullshit.
It's also like a really dangerous thing to think, but yeah.
Anyway, so this is a scene that's not in the original version. Clark goes to meet. He's following up on Batman. He's going to meet the guy that was branded in the first scene that was killed, and he meets that guy's baby mama. And she's like, yeah, I know what he did, but he was also a father. And so again, we're building out the case of why Superman's pissy against Batman.
Yeah.
And I have in my notes, Sal, I think this is where I texted you. Finally, finally we get the Batmobile sequence, and I don't even like that sequence. I just knew, like, finally Superman and Batman are going to share the screen together, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, and they do a whole thing. They have a pomp and circumstance. He breaks the car, but he rises out of the car to meet him. And
Sure. This is, by the way, after Batman he runs over people, he machine guns people to death.
Yes. Which admittedly Keaton Batman did too.
Yeah, but I guess. But I think it stands out more here because before this, the most iconic Batman movies made a lot of hay. Like the whole moral crux of those movies was Batman killing. At least the first two. Though that is the main moral component.
Yeah.
Oh, Batman kills somebody.
Yeah.
And now we're like, no, there's a guy. It's Zack Snyder. It looks kind of cool. He pops out of the back of like a van or whatever with a machine gun. Batman machine guns that van until it explodes.
Yes.
He's murdering people. The most egregious one is they lose him for a second, and he comes out over the second story of a building, and Zack Snyder makes sure you see that Batmobile hits one of the guys in the back of the thing. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Like,
no, it's just dope and rad, and this is what my Batman would do, and that's it.
Here's something that's arguably more egregious. Here's the exchange Superman.
Oh my God.
I have it. So
please.
Superman, by the way, this is Superman.
Yep.
Next time they shine your light in the sky, don't go to it. The bat is dead. Bury it. Consider this mercy.
What a weird thing for anyone to say, much less Superman.
Overly aggressive, aggro bullshit. To which Batman replies, tell me. This line's actually pretty hard. The Superman one, who is this Superman, and why are we all pretending like he's a good guy that we like?
Right.
This one's like, actually don't hate this. Tell me, do you bleed? You will. Okay, so I just said I don't hate the line, but this scene is so aggro.
Yeah, it's silly.
It's just
it comes across
like either of these characters. Like, what are we doing?
It's infantile. I love this. Also, the voice modulation thing. I was like, that's an interesting take. I'll get used to this. But when he's like, do you bleed? Superman's reaction to it is so justifiably like, what? What a weird thing for you to say. Never mind what I just said, because that was also effing weird, but at least you'd expect to hear that in a CrossFit gym. But like this was weird. I'm going to leave. And then he leaves. He goes, you will. Like he had to burp and he stifled it. And
you will, by the way.
You will. Like, yeah, I know. And that's the implication.
Like, I can hear you, by the way. I have super hearing.
He's like, I know. That's what I wanted you to know, that I know you can hear me.
Yeah.
It's just, it was weird and aggro and stupid. And like, Superman saying anything is mercy. I think he says something about that later too, where he's like, consider this mercy or something like that.
Oh, he says it with Lex Luthor. Yeah, it's such an aggressive, unpleasant take on Superman.
It's also like, if you want to believe that this is Superman, the Superman that you love, is he just pretending because Batman's so cool?
He's trying to. He's like, I got to be more hardcore now.
Right? Like, is he like, oh well, normally I just want to climb on the tub with my girlfriend, but like, I guess I have to be cool and dope, and I can't just like George Burns it and pull out my cock. I gotta like. I gotta like say something awesome, and that's like that's what like a person who is so decidedly not cool or hardcore would say.
Absolutely. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit. This is where we get to the Senate hearing, where there's a lot of, at least in the Ultimate Edition, there's a lot of build up to the different angles of this. So Scoot McNairy and Holly Hunter are like, come to the hearing, and he comes to the hearing, and then Scoot McNairy's wheelchair is a fucking bomb, and it blows up, and Superman does what famously Superman would do in this situation where he's in a bomb, where he just kind of pouts and it's like, bomb.
Just like, oh man, you guys.
Man.
Like, and it's like, what I understand what he's feeling in that scene, because like, there's no subtlety in this movie. Not to say that like this movie is bad. Sorry, people who are watching this movie or watching this episode, because you were expecting us to have a completely different opinion about it. But like, he just looks so put upon. Like, is it like what God would look like when he watches us have a war, where he's like, oh, you guys don't get it yet. And I'm like, I guess that's fair, but also this sucks. And he's it's another movie where Superman is in the burned ashes of dead people. And he's breathing them in because he has nothing better to do.
We do get a brief clip. I don't know if this is the regular one. We do get a brief clip of him pulling people from the wreckage later.
Yeah.
But then one EMT guy's kind of like feels weird about it, and so Superman pouts and like runs away. Like
I'll go to Lowe's hotel.
He run away with his arms flopping at his side.
Yeah. He just pulls the little thingies on his hoodie really tight. Yeah. And then he goes to Lowe's hotel and he's like, "Am I a bad person?" And she's like, "I don't even think you are a person. I don't know, but I'm getting."
Well, we get another exchange where she's like, she's posed as this means something. He's like, it did on my world, but this isn't my world, and he flies away.
Brother, you don't even know what your world was. You were from Kansas. You're like 35 years old. You've been raised as a human being for 35 years.
Yeah.
You have no idea what the other company or planet was like.
What's also unhinged about that exchange is he implies that like Superman was never real. That was a farmer's dream. Was that Pa Kent's dream?
No, it wasn't. No, if he had been like, my dad was right, that would be actually like a kind of arc. At the very least, to be consistent.
And then and we double down on this because we get a scene with Ma Kent and she's like, you don't owe this world anything.
I hate this. I hate this so much. Man? And don't forget, Ghost Dad shows back up
to talk
and he's
about
like,
horses.
Just to remind you that he is like a real miserable person. We were eating cake while the horses drowned.
Yeah. And
like,
did you ever sleep well again? Well, when I met your mom, she was my world. I'm like, wait, he had PTSD over the dead horses his entire life until he met Ma Kent. Martha Kent. That's important. Yeah. I need to tell you, Martha.
So important.
Okay. All right. I'm trying to see what we can cut from this absolute bloated mess of the movie. Okay, so here's something that I don't think is in the original edition. So they have. I just forgot the actress's name again. God damn it. I'll find it in my notes. But there's an actress. She was in Sucker Punch. I really like her. Why am I forgetting her name? Oh, no. It's part of Lois was investigating the bullet. She runs into this metallurgist that works for the government or whatever. And this person gives her a call. And because part of that exchange on the roof is Superman was like, I didn't see the bomb and I'm worried it's because I didn't look. And what Lois finds out is that the bomb was encased in lead, which is why he didn't.
Oh,
yeah. So she's like, it's not his fault, which I think is an important thing. I think that's important to include in your movie.
It is important, but it's also like, did we establish the lead thing in Man of Steel?
No.
Furthermore, also, it doesn't change like his whole response and attitude. Like he is just like. How does that justify him having the exact same facial expression in the like ashen deaths of those people in the Senate room or the Day of the Dead Mexicans reaching for him? Like he's still like, I don't want to be Superman. It's like Zack Snyder being like, I don't want to make a Superman movie anymore.
Mm-hmm. It's Jenna Malone, by the way, the actress that's that was. I remember when she was cast in the movie, and then she's not in it, but she's in the deleted scenes. So fast forward, Ma Kent is kidnapped. Lois Lane is kidnapped. Lex unleashes his master Gambit. Meanwhile, Batman's stolen the kryptonite from Lex, which was part of Lex's plans to begin with. Why go? Whatever. Just let him get it at the White Portuguese. Whatever. And Lex pushes Lois off of Lex Tower so Superman will save her so he can have a conversation with Superman explaining he kidnapped Ma Kent. And he basically says, either you kill Batman or I'm going to kill Ma. I'm going to kill Martha.
Why? Like, why does he need to kill Batman?
I think the implication is, which this also doesn't make sense, is because he knows Batman has the kryptonite, he's hoping maybe they'll kill each other. What I want to know is if Batman succeeded in killing Superman, what was his plan with Doomsday?
Oh, no, this Doomsday thing it didn't work out, right? No. Yeah, that's right, because he did the Doomsday thing before.
He starts the whole process, and so Doomsday in this is Zod's corpse, the fucking dummy of poor Michael Shannon that I hope got a good
I was like, is he in this? Like, did that poor actor have to come back, or did they like make a fake body?
Yeah, because you'll notice Michael Shannon's not been in a lot of blockbusters after this, and I have to think that there's a reason for that. And it's not because he's not great. He is great.
No, he is great.
So he goes in the Genesis chamber. Lex goes in the Genesis chamber. He uses Zod's little fingertips to get in there and take control of it. And he puts him in there, and then he puts his blood on it, which creates an abomination or whatever. It's a rock troll from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, it is.
It's we'll get into that in a minute. So that process is happening while this is going on. Yeah. And I also should point out, the person that keeps Lex from being killed by Doomsday is Superman. So what was his plan if Superman died at the hands of Batman.
I don't think he was going to make a. I mean, like he didn't know he was going to make a Doomsday. I don't think he had any idea what he was doing.
Cool, great. Meanwhile, before this happens, the reason Wonder Woman steals the drive from Batman is Lex Luthor has the metahuman files, which is a clip show of all the Justice League people we're going to unite, which includes a photograph of Wonder Woman from the Wonder Woman movie. I have at this point, which I think a lot of people do, very mixed feelings on Gal Gadot. However, that first Wonder Woman movie is way better than this movie.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, absolutely.
And she's a smoke show. She's a smoke show in this. It's like I don't really like this actress, but she's a smoke show.
Yeah, no question.
Anyway, so this is setting up Wonder Woman to show up in the last act of this movie. We get our Batman Superman fight. It's not bad. Zack Snyder's good at this stuff. I think the standout for me is when Superman has inhaled kryptonite and Batman's punching him and the kryptonite wears off and the punch does less and less. Sal, what's your favorite part of this big fight?
I don't have one, but okay. I will say I love that they made the suit from Dark Knight Returns for real.
Yeah.
It was cool to see in the stuff, but also it's stupid.
Yeah.
The suit is great. He looks awesome. I love that. Like he has the glowing eyes. It's the first time we see, pupilless Batman.
Mm-hmm.
But like when they get in, this is the fight. This is the fight that the whole movie is predicated on. So you need to have this scene, and it's like, but all they have to do is just talk to each other for 2 seconds, and it's like I hate when that happens, but also it happens in all of them, so I get it. But when he's trying to talk to him, and then he's just like, you don't understand. And then Batman gets in his face. He goes, I understand. And he's just like, get away from me. Like, at that point, I kind of get it. Cause I'm like, don't scream in my face.
Calm down. All right.
Yeah, exactly. But like pushing him through a wall is not going to calm him down.
No. So there's some lines taken straight from The Dark Knight Returns. I bet your parents taught you that you're here for a reason. This is where we get to the infamous Martha scene. And this is where I feel obligated to say, I actually don't hate this. I don't think it works in this movie, but I think conceptually I get what you were trying to do and I don't hate it.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, because the nerd in me loves that they took a very obscure piece of continuity that both Batman and Superman's parents are named Martha,
which is weird. Yeah,
and uses that as a way to snap Batman out of it and help him realize, oh, this is a person. This is a guy with a mom.
Yes,
doesn't want to lose him. On paper, I think in a better movie, a version of this could have worked. The problem is it's the movie that it is.
Yes, because Superman would never say save Martha. Like it was such an awkward reveal for his need to say it. I remember thinking it was dumb the second I saw it. Like I like being thrown off by it. I was like, what is this? A friend of mine was like who had been in the military and suffered from PTSD, who I saw this movie with, revealed to me where he's like, sometimes like words will trigger, like Batman has combat stress.
No,
like this Batman is 100% traumatized and has like straight up like exhibits combat PTSD, and the like you never know what words will trigger it or like give you a flashback, and that did, and the way he portrayed it was very authentic to him. And that I was like, oh, like that's cool. That's it. Like I was just like, oh, that gives me a completely unique perspective. Yeah, you can. Give me a completely unique perspective that I really liked. And that, and so I give it marks for that. Yeah,
I think on a molecular level, you need to change aspects of this movie. But at least in this scene, you just have it and phrase it different. You'd be like, my mom, say my mom. And then like, because you have to portray it. Like if I'm directing this, I'm like, what we need to portray is, why would you say Martha?
Yeah.
And so in this moment, you're like, oh shit, this might be it. The only thing I care about is saving my mom.
Yeah.
What information do I need to convey to Batman to save my mom? So you go from mom, that's not going to mean anything to Batman. Martha, look for Martha. And
that's fair. Yeah.
And then you have to find that moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they don't, he's just like, Martha. And it's, and I agree that I actually don't hate this. I don't think it works in this movie because I don't think most things work in this movie.
That's right. Yes.
Anyway, so that triggers them. Now everybody's BFFs. We're all on the same page. Batman's going to go save Martha. Superman's going to go stop Lex because he's got a whole doomsday cooking.
Yeah.
This leads to an action scene. It's a pretty good action. Zack Snyder's a solid action director.
Yeah.
Batman fighting all the guys. Again, in the Ultimate Edition, there's blood spray as he's hitting people, so you know he's murdering them.
Yeah.
And then what were you going?
Oh, that scene is so great.
Yeah.
Like, I was so impressed by like the fluidity of the character and like the use of gadgets and the like entire like the way he can move his neck but still look like it's like caked into his shoulders.
Yeah.
I was like, this is great. Like this is like Arkham Asylum, the game, but like live action.
Yeah.
Also, he's murdering these people.
Yeah, he kicks a guy into a grenade.
He kicks a guy into a grenade. He shoots a crate into a man's face at no less than 25 miles per hour, and blood splatters on the wall behind him.
Yep.
There's also that moment where the guy stabs him, and then for laughs, like for the audience's benefit, he then pulls it out and then stabs him with it.
And then, even though he's on a clock, the implication he goes and tortures that guy more.
He does
after the scene.
What is this?
Then we get a recreation of the flamethrower sequence from The Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah, it was originally a Gatling gun. It's way more earned in DK. No, it's a gun on a child. Okay. It's a way better scene. It's actually a better scene in RoboCop. Because it's also in RoboCop. Like literally that scene is recreated perfectly. Like there's a character, he's got a gun on a gun. It's the same scene. It's so weird. Watch RoboCop, folks. It's just Dark Knight Returns.
If you take anything out of this, go watch RoboCop.
Go see RoboCop. Forget Batman vs Superman. Watch RoboCop. The real one, not the other one. But the other one actually has its merits. But we're not here to talk about RoboCop. But I was like, I knew it was happening the second he had the gun. They're the flamethrower on her. Yeah. I was like, we're gonna do the scene from Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah, we're gonna do the scene from Dark Knight Returns. He saves mom. Meanwhile, Superman is fighting Doomsday. It's not going great. He takes him up into space. The U.S. decides to nuke them both in space.
So boring.
To try and recreate the image of Superman emaciated from the nuclear blast and then resurrecting with the sunlight from Dark Knight Returns. And what's crazy is I can understand. I don't know why. I think when Doomsday first pops out, I would have done the suit when like he first showed up in the comics where he has the suit over him.
Yeah.
And then you reveal the Rock one. I can understand this is supposed to be baby Doomsday, so he doesn't have any of the Rocky bones. Clearly in the script, the intent was he gets nuked and then he becomes classic Rocky Doomsday.
Yes.
Because he does have a transformation, but he still just looks like a cave troll in this.
Yeah, it's lame. It's boring. He's boring. It's lame. It looks stupid. It's also just like a yawner. I'm so checked out by this point. It's just like, because I'm like, and it's mostly just because I'm like, don't do a Doomsday fight. Like, this is Death of Superman. Don't do Death of Superman.
Yeah.
This is his second movie.
Yeah, you could have going back to Scoot McNairy, you could have made him Metallo or Parasite and have your whole fight around he becomes a monster.
Parasite would have been enough.
Yeah, I think like he loses legs, you could have made him Metallo, but I think if you say like Lex is like, no, I can make you regrow your legs. And it ends up becoming Parasite. So when Superman shows up at the Senate hearing, suddenly Scoot McNairy starts monstering it because the energy that comes off Superman makes him monster out. And then people are like, wait, can Superman turn you into a monster? Like, what do we, you know what I mean?
Oh,
now a different discussion. But they didn't do that. We went for Doomsday. I hope the Warner Brothers got it out of their system. We did it. Death of Superman done.
They did it in Smallville. There's enough Doomsday to go around, folks.
They did it in Superman and Lois.
I know. There's enough Doomsday, folks.
Yeah,
that's enough.
We did it. Doomsday isn't even that interesting of a Superman villain.
No, he's created to kill Superman.
That's it. Okay. I'm just going to say it. I'm going to say it. The thing I would always want to do on Doomsday, the thing I think that would make Doomsday interesting is it's a part of the thing. The more you try to kill him, the more powerful he gets. So I think the resolution should be, instead of Superman punching him to death, is Superman realizes like, no, all of that, like Doomsday is a perpetual motion machine of destruction. The more you let him destroy, or the more you try to destroy him, the stronger he gets. So Superman realizes, I'm the most powerful being on this planet. I just need to let Doomsday punch it out. So Superman just lets Doomsday release all of his energy until Doomsday's run out into Superman, and that's why he dies. I think that would be an interesting take.
That'd be great.
And I just say it here because I don't think DC ain't calling me up to.
No. Well, Doomsday's the time trapper now.
just let it go. Superman has way more interesting enemies. You could have done, God damn it, Sal, you could have done a whole version of this movie that's Mr. Mixie Spitalik, and he's the one that organizes them fighting because he's a fifth dimensional imp and he can do whatever the fuck he wants.
There's no way Zack Snyder even knows who that is.
But could you imagine? That'd actually be a good Superman Batman movie where basically Q, for people that aren't don't know Mixie, but are some reason huge Star Trek fans, Q shows up and it's like, I think it'd be fun if Batman and Superman fought.
Yes.
And made that happen. We've
been waiting a long time for this.
Oh, anyway, okay. You could do meta, fourth wall breaking stuff. Doesn't matter. Sorry. I need to.
If ever we're going to get Mixie, we'll get it in this universe.
I agree. We're getting crypto.
Yeah.
Okay. So Superman dies fighting. We use the kryptonite spear, which is a whole stupid subplot where Lois Lane throws away the spear and then has to go get the spear, and then she almost drowns with Superman as a saber. Sorry, Amy Adams, you're great. I wish you were Lois Lane in better movies.
You're an Oscar-winning actress, right? And you're relegated to running around picking up spears. Why would Batman even make a spear? Oh, because of Christ.
Yeah. Anyway, so Superman dies. Wonder Woman's shown up at this point, by the way.
Oh yeah, Wonder Woman's also here.
Yeah,
and her theme is played.
Yes,
and you go, whoa.
Yeah,
and you're right. The best thing about Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice is Wonder Woman's theme.
Wonder Woman's
Tina
theme.
Guo.
Yeah. Because again, I can't stress this enough. That movie's way better than this movie.
Yeah, it's dope. And they use it every time she does anything. She brushed her teeth. She's fighting.
She's opening her emails. Here it comes. So they're fighting. Superman dies. Doomsday. Lex is communing with Steppenwolf. Which is weird because he doesn't like that there was an alien here, but now he's inviting Darkseid over. Whatever.
Yeah, in the original one, he just sees Steppenwolf, I think, and then that's it. Just in the water or something.
Yeah, he's doing this number in the Ultimate. Yeah. Okay. All right. So there's funerals for both Clark Kent and Superman. No relation. Nobody look into that. Why they both died at the same time.
Yeah.
And both of their pictures are in the newspaper. Don't put those pictures beside each other.
No.
Batman's all like telling Wonder Woman, like, I think we need a Justice League for future things.
Him in his Wayne manner, like I like the idea that after the death of Superman, Batman's like, I should probably be more like real Batman. And so he moves about, and he's like, I'm gonna move back into the manor, and then he doesn't, and he's like, well, maybe I'll make the manor into the Justice League headquarters, and we'll put a big table like right here. Is that this movie? I don't remember.
No, that's the next one. And then we get a scene that's really baffling to me because there's a guard and presumably the warden show up at Luthor's cell. And they're like, he wants to see the warden. And then they're like,
he's in Arkham.
And then
what?
Both guards are gone.
Yeah.
Both people are gone. And Batman's there. And I'm like, what?
Did Batman trank them?
Here? Like, what's going on? And then Batman, having learned no lessons, is like, I guess he doesn't brand them, but he threatens.
No, he doesn't. That's the lesson he learns, is that he does. He's like, you know what? Shouldn't brand people. Also, I can't believe we did the whole episode and I didn't say the Batman branding thing is laughable, and I hated it every single time I've seen it, and I thought it was stupid as. Like, it was so dumb.
Yeah.
And when he gets that brand and they were like, oh, he brands them. I'm like, that's so stupid.
Yep.
I reject it out of hand.
Yeah. Yep.
And his arc is, I won't brand people anymore.
He won't brand people. But he does tell Lex, we're sending you to Arkham. I still have friends there. He's basically threatening that Lex Luthor's going to get raped in the shower in Arkham. And it's like, what the fuck are we doing, man?
Yeah. And Zack Snyder then goes on record being like, Batman gets raped. Like, in prison all the time.
Yeah.
Like,
that's God damn it. Anyway, so the last thing, in case anybody was worried, Lois puts dirt on Clark's grave, and then the dirt starts to rise a little bit. This doesn't actually mean anything. He's not resurrected this way, but
nope.
But he does, whatever. He's still got energy in him or whatever. That's Batman v Superman. I swore to Sal we wouldn't go long again. We definitely did go long again. No, I'm sorry.
It's a long movie.
It's a long movie. We are not going to do. I have trouble envisioning a reality that Sal and I will cover the Snyder cut. I watched it once. I
don't want to see it ever again. I've seen it. I'm good.
We're going to do the 2-hour Whedon cut. That'll be our next one. It's the same plot. People yell at me when I say that it's not the same plot. It is. It's the same movie.
There's just more of it.
Yeah, which I don't agree with. Okay. Sal, where can the kids find you?
Check me out at youtube.com/compop or Compop Returns for all your comic book chatting needs.
If you're here, you're over at my personal channel, youtube.com/DJ Talk Trash. You can check out my podcast network over at youtube.com/onlystupid-answers. Go to dangerboycomic.com if you want to pre-order my comic. Also, you can go to childreninconflict.org if you want to help support what they're doing to help children in conflict. I recommend you do that. Also in the comments, if you're doing stuff in your community, let us know. Thank you for joining us. We will see you all next time. Bye, everybody.